Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to this orientation session of the AAA, which is Advanced Audit and Assurance. My name is Luqman Rafiq and I'll be taking you through this AAA paper. A brief background about myself: that I have been in teaching profession for more than 13 years now and have been teaching various qualifications including the ACCA, ICAEW, CIMA and the Pakistani qualification of ICAP, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. In addition to this, I have been teaching the various subjects including the financial reporting aspects, including the auditing, the financial management. So these are the few subjects that I have been teaching. So our agenda for discussion of today is going to be to discuss about the introduction of the Advanced Audit and Assurance, which is the AAA, and it was previously known as the paper P7. So let's discuss. Now one thing is that this AAA is amongst the, it's one of the 4 optional papers that is available to you. It's not one of those mandatory paper, it's an optional paper. So now, as a student, first of all, in case if you decide to go for AAA, I repeat, in case if you decide to go for AAA, then there have to be reasons for you to opt for AAA. And what are those reasons? So possibly one of the reasons that I could think of is that in case if you wish to go to an audit firm, for the training, that is not necessary that you would go to an audit firm for making a career and becoming a partner of the audit firm. You can go to an audit firm just for the sake of the training period of 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years, whatsoever that training period is. So in case if any one of you wishes to go into an audit firm, so I would suggest that it is mandatory for you to go for AAA paper. Why? Because across the globe, many of the audit firms, they prefer to have students who have appeared in the AAA examination. Because you see, I've got resumes in front of me, and if I could see 2 resumes which are of the people who have done AAA, and there are 5 resumes of the people who have not attempted AAA, so I would probably go for those people who have attempted AAA. So if you wish to get into an audit firm either as a trainee or for the future career, then make sure that you attempt this AAA paper. Anyway, so that's one thing with respect to AAA, that all of you wishing to make or wishing to go into audit firm should opt for AAA as a paper. Now, let's talk a bit about the syllabus connection of this AAA before I go on discussing about the content of AAA. First of all, I would actually take you people through this relational diagram of the AAA, that what are the relations of AAA with the other examination papers. So you could see that this AAA has got a relationship with one paper which is F8. This is SBR, and this is what this P7 paper is. Now this relationship is understood by all. This relationship is understood by all, that you've attempted F8 paper and now after doing the F8 paper you are now jumping on to AAA. That is okay. This relationship is understood by all the students. But this relationship raises a big question mark amongst the students' mind, that why is it that this paper has got a connection with, I repeat, this question raises, this specific connection raises a question mark, that why is it important to go through SBR for the AAA paper. So now see, let's recall a bit of the audit that you have done. If you could just recall a bit of the audit that you have studied, you know this thing, that what exactly is an audit. So the different types of audit we study, external audit is one of those audits that we study the most. And when we study the external audit, so what is an external audit? External audit is an independent. It's an independent examination of financial statement to express an opinion, to express an opinion if financial statement are prepared in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Now let's just try to have an understanding of this. What is an external audit? It's an independent examination of the financial statement to express an opinion if financial statements are prepared in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now see, so the most important aspect is that you are expressing an opinion on financial statement, and an opinion is being expressed on a financial statement that whether financial statements are prepared in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. That means you are expressing an opinion whether the financial statements are in accordance with the IAS or not. So basically, you cannot be an auditor, you cannot be a good auditor till the time you don't know that how the IFRS accounting should be done. Till the time you don't know how the financial statements are going to be prepared, you cannot be a good auditor. So always remember the audit starts. Always remember the audit starts where accounting ends. I repeat, always remember the audit starts where accounting ends. So in order to be a good auditor, you have to be a good accountant. That is why this relationship of SBR and AAA is here. That in order to be good at AAA, you need to be good at SBR. So now, another question mark arises. As a student, I have not attempted SBR and I thought that I could just give the AAA paper because people advise me. No. If you wanna give AAA and then SBR, this approach is a failed approach. You will fail in the exam. If you wanna give SBR and then you wanna give AAA, this is an acceptable approach. If you wanna give SBR and you wanna give AAA in a single exam session, that is also okay. But attempting AAA before you have attempted SBR, not advisable at all. Not advisable at all. Now, so basically I was telling you the audit starts where the accounting ends. So in order to be a good auditor, you have to be a good accountant. I repeat, in order to be a good auditor, you have to be a good accountant. Without being a good accountant, you cannot be a good auditor. So that's why the knowledge of SBR is important. So that's one of the relationship diagram of the AAA with the other subjects, which includes F8. Obviously, you know that the F8 was one of those papers that gave you the basic knowledge of the auditing, and then now you're moving on to the AAA. Now there is this next thing, which is approach to the examination of the syllabus. So how exactly is this AAA paper examined? So it's examined almost the similar way to the other strategic professional papers, which is that you've got section A worth 50 marks. Then you've got section B, which is basically 25 mark, 2 questions. So that makes it 50 mark in total. So a total of 100 marks. Now let's just try to understand. 3 questions is what you have to answer. This paper of AAA is relatively lengthier. It's relatively shorter than the SBR paper that you would attempt, because in SBR you have to attempt 4 questions. Here you have to attempt 3 questions. So if you are going to manage your time properly, you would be able to get through this AAA. Now, so that is what the approach to examination of syllabus was. Let's move a bit forward and let's talk about the main areas of the syllabus. That what are the main areas of the syllabus? There is this area which is employability and the technology skills. Recently, when I have been giving the introduction on all of the papers, so I come across this specific section which continuously talks about employability and the technology skills. So let me guide you a bit about it. Basically, this is a new addition to all of the ACCA syllabus. And what is the objective of this addition? The objective of this addition is that ACCA wants you to be work ready. ACCA wants you to go into the work environment and start working without actually being surprised to the use of technology. So like if you get information, if you get data and you need to use or analyze those data and information using the various technological softwares, applications, etc. So you must be aware of these, because when you go to the real life, when you go to the practical life, you come across all of these things. So if you come across all of these things, so that means it is important. You should be ready to handle all this. You should be ready to tackle all this before you go into the preparation for the, before you go on to the workplace. So how exactly are we going to prepare this? How exactly as a student are you going to acquire it, and how as a tutor I will teach you. So try to understand this. Basically what happens is that when you practice the CB platform, I repeat, when you practice the CB platform, so while practicing on the CB platform, what actually happens is that you learn the method of operating paperless. You learn the method of handling the information then and there, putting that onto the word processing document, picking up information, putting that onto the Excel sheet, and then processing it, and then communicating your opinion, communicating your viewpoint, etc. So once you prepare for the CB practice platform, that means you have got the required employability and the technology skills which were necessary for you to be prepared. That means you have actually gathered the required technology and the employability skills. So first of all, you don't have to worry about this specific area. I repeat, you don't have to worry about this specific area, not at all. Why? With the CB practice, you will be learning it. With the CB practice, you will be learning it. Now let's move a bit forward. If I talk a bit further, there are these three areas, which is regulatory environment, the professional and the ethical considerations, and the third one of them is practice management. Let's start discussing them, that what exactly are they? Regulatory environment, the professional and ethical consideration, and the practice management. One by one I will go through them. These three areas are usually examined in tandem, but it's not necessary. They could be examined separately also, but generally they're examined together. And from the exam perspective, it's at 20 to 25 marks that these three areas constitutes. Next, you have got planning and conducting of audit, completion and reporting. So these two areas approximately constitute 60% of the paper. And then there is this other assignments, approximately 15% of the paper, and you could give this 5% weightage to it. A lot of you people might say that it's over and above 100%. That's okay. It's slightly for 5 marks here, 5 marks there. That's what is going to happen. But more or less, this is what you could expect in the examination. Now, is it mandatory? No. So why am I saying all this? Because of my past experience. Because of my past experience, I have seen ACCA examine AAA paper in this specific manner. So I'm actually explaining my past experience. I'm sharing my past experience with you. Now, let's just start discussing about each one of them: the regulatory environment, the professional and ethical consideration, the practice management. I'll discuss all three of them. So when we talk about the first one of them is the regulatory environment. If I talk about the regulatory environment, I would actually tell you people that look, the audit itself is being conducted because of a regulation. You have got Companies Act in various countries, Companies Ordinance or company law, whatever you call it. That Companies Act govern companies. And the companies, what they do is that they, as per those laws, get their financial statement audited. And for getting their financial statements audited, they hire auditor. So an auditor is actually bound legally. An auditor is bound ethically. An auditor is bound commercially and professionally for conducting these engagements. So as an auditor, you got to make sure that you comply with the legal requirements, you comply with the ethical requirements, you comply with the professional requirements, and you take the commercial considerations. You consider your commercial aspects also before you go on to performing any audit. So generally speaking, the regulatory environment tells you that what are the laws and regulations that the auditor has to comply with. What are the laws and regulations that the auditor should be aware of, and how the auditor should act under different circumstances. How the auditor should act under different circumstances. So that is all that the auditor is expected to comply with. So when we'll be going through this regulatory environment area, we'll be discussing about the laws and regulations and how the auditor is expected to deal when faced with those laws and regulations while performing his duties. So that is something that we'll talk about. The next aspect is the ethical. The next aspect is the ethical. I did discuss about the definition of the external audit, which is an independent examination. So the word independent is a very important word which is derived from the code of ethics. Now, when we talk about the ethical circumstances, so try to understand that what is ethical? What is ethics? Ethics is actually something that gives you the difference between right and wrong. That tells you the difference between the right and wrong. That tells you the difference between the acceptable and non-acceptable. That tells you what is legal and what is prohibited. So you have studied the code of ethics at the F8 level, but again, the code of ethics is examinable at this AAA level also, and as a student, you would have to make sure that you are prepared for this code of ethics and dealing with the scenarios of the code of ethics. So that is something that you would have to deal with. Now, let's try to understand this. So when we would be discussing this part B of the syllabus, we would be going through a quick revision of the code of ethics, and we'll be discussing the different types of scenarios that would come across while dealing with the code of ethics situation. Furthermore, there are other professional issues that the audit firm has to comply with. What are other professional issues? Let me give you an idea. For example, you are auditing a listed company. You express an incorrect opinion. An investor group loses money because of relying on the audit report, and they file a suit against you. So how would you defend yourself? Would you be ending up, I mean, like you got an audit fee of $200,000, and would you be ending up paying a penalty of $2 million? Probably not. So you got to make sure that you comply. If you have complied with the regulatory requirements, if you have complied with the ethical requirement, and if you have considered the professional aspects, then you will probably not end up paying that money, no matter whoever files a suit against you. So there are going to be those professional issues also, which we will be discussing. That would include that how the auditor is expected to act professionally, and also how the auditor is going to cover his professional liability. How the auditor is going to cover his professional liability also, that is also something that we'll cover. The third aspect is the practice management. As I told you, these three sections are examined in tandem. And when these three sections are examined in tandem, so what is this practice management going to be? You see, if you are an accountant and you are running a firm, so that means your firm is going to be termed as your audit practice. And a person who is working in firm or who is running a firm is said to be in practice. So when we say the word practice, that means you are part of a audit firm, a consultancy firm, accountancy firm, taxation firm. That's what practice is. Now, so there are multiple aspects that you need to manage with respect to the practice, with respect to the quality, with respect to the practice itself. Like for example, when it comes to the quality, you've got three different aspects of quality. One of them is a firm-wide quality. One of them is a engagement-specific quality. And the other one of them is basically the assignment-specific quality. There could be different type of quality aspects. So when you are performing the audit, whatever engagement, whatever assignment that you are performing, you have to make sure that you comply with the quality standards. What are the quality standards? You have got either 220, which defines what the audit quality is. You have got ISQC1, which also defines what the quality control standards are going to be. So you got to make sure that you comply with the quality. So when we talk about the firm-wide engagement, firm-wide quality control, engagement-specific quality control, this actually means that you need to make sure that overall firm's quality of work is being maintained, whether that be through training, whether that be through guidance, whether that be through supervision, things like that. That is something that has to be managed. Further, if you are performing any engagement, so you got to make sure that the engagement-specific quality is also managed and the engagement-specific quality is also maintained. If the engagement-specific quality is not going to be maintained, you would lose out as a firm, because maybe if there is a poor quality on an engagement, you might end up expressing a wrong opinion, and expressing a wrong opinion might actually end up leading you to a situation where the regulator may act against you. So you got to make sure that you do that. The second thing is managing the quality of the practice. I repeat, managing the quality of the practice. So what exactly do you mean by managing the quality of practice? So managing the quality of the practice would mean that you see a lot of things, which is acquiring new customers, advertising, marketing, promotion, and the revenues, sustainability, etc., etc. If I am running an audit firm and if I don't have sufficient resources, how would I make sure that I hire good staff? And if I don't hire good staff, how would I actually make sure that I maintain my quality? For me to be able to maintain my quality, it's important that I'm able to manage the practice, because without managing the practice, you cannot survive. You cannot deliver quality. So quality delivery is also connected to management of the practice. You acquire new clients, you retain existing clients, you work upon improving, enhancing your business's revenue, making them sustainable, and ultimately improving upon your deficiencies. So that is ultimately what's going to make your practice sustainable. And if your practice is going to become sustainable, so ultimately your business is going to flourish. So as I was discussing that these are the three areas, which is regulatory environment, that what regulations, what laws govern, the professional ethical consideration, and the third one of them, practice management. That is approximately 20-25 mark. You can expect a part in question 2 or question 3 worth 15 mark, and you could expect a 10 mark part in section A, maybe around the ethics or something like that. The next is about the planning and conducting audit of historical, financial, and completion and reporting. Let me guide you. This section, which is D and which is section E. Section D, section E. If I could just tell you about section D and section E, so I would say this is where the actual audit takes place. You see, when the audit starts, you plan the audit. Then you perform the audit. Then you review and you finalize. That is how you go about. You plan, you perform, you review, you finalize. At this stage, it's majorly the ISA 300 series that we apply. At this stage, it is ISA 500, ISA 600 series that we apply. At this stage, again, it's an overall ISA that's applicable, and here the ISA 700 series is applicable to conclude the audit, which is to draw or to give the audit opinion, to give the audit report. Now, this area is constituting approximately 60 to 65% of the syllabus. So what is examinable in this area? You would learn about everything. You would learn about the planning stage where the audit risk is identified. You would learn about the planning stage where basically the audit plan is finalized. You would then go on to move on to the performance stage where the evidences would be gathered. So that means the audit procedures would be performed over here. Then you would go on to the third stage, which is the review stage. What is actually going to happen at that stage? You would be reviewing the working papers. The fourth stage is going to be the conclusion or finalization stage, where you would actually be giving up the audit report. So all of these things, that what are the risk areas, what accounting standards apply on the company, what are the implications of conducting this specific procedures, what could be a reaction under the given circumstances, etc., etc., etc. There could be many things that are going to be applicable here. So almost the entire ISA series plus the IFRS, that is all going to be applicable in this specific scenario. Now, over a period of time, when I kept on teaching AAA, I realized this thing, that the students, they lack. I repeat, over a period of time, when I started teaching this auditing, so I realized this thing, that the students lack a lot with respect to the IFRS knowledge. And the examiner has also mentioned that this is one of the reasons that the student failed AAA exam, that they are not ready for the IFRS. They've forgotten IFRS, or they apply IFRS incorrectly, because if you are not able to apply accounting, how would you audit? How would you judge that this accounting treatment is incorrect? How would you judge that this accounting treatment is inappropriate? How would you judge that? So, as a result of this, I repeat, as a result of this, what actually happens is that students struggle. So what I have done is, I've made summaries of all the accounting standards, and at the time of making the summaries of all the accounting standards, what I've also done is, I have made videos which actually highlight the various type of audit risks that could arise out of that accounting standards implication. I've tried to actually create circumstances for you people to be able to understand that how accounting standard would be applicable in a given scenario, how it could affect your audit. So that's what I've done, and you would find all of them on the relevant portal when you would be accessing the lectures, that all the summaries of the accounting standards are there. And believe me, this is going to be a turning point for you to prepare for the AAA, because you're good at accounting standard, no one can beat you. Anyways, coming back to it. So the next thing is the audit procedures plan and the reporting. So all of this thing is going to be examined at this area, and this constitutes around 2 exam questions most likely. That is what you can expect. Then there is this current issues and development. I'll come on to the other assignments. There is this current issues and development. What is this current issues and development? So the current issues and development are that whatever the latest updates to ISA, whatever the latest updates to the auditing profession, and the latest developments in the auditing field, like the use of data analytics, use of computer softwares for the data analytics, and how this actually helps you in plan and perform your audit. So that is all something that we will be discussing. Lastly, there is this other assignments. Let me guide you that when we talk about IAASB, which is the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board has got different type of publications. One of them is the ISA, the other one of them is the ISRE, the third one of them is ISAE, and the fourth one of them is ISRS. Let's have a discussion about them. ISA is used for the audit. This is basically international standards on review engagement. This is international standards on assurance engagement. This is international standards on related services. So we've got 4 of them: ISA, ISRE, ISAE, ISRS. These are the 4 of them. Now what is it that you need to do? You need to be prepared for all of them. So when we talk about these other assignments, we will be discussing all these 3. We'll be discussing all these 3. We'll be discussing relevant review engagement standards. We'll be discussing relevant the ISAEs and the relevant ISRS and how they are applied to a given scenario. So we're going to be discussing all of them. So basically the AAA paper, if you could just see that this is what the entire AAA syllabus is. There are these more detailed guidance also, but again I am not going into it. The reason being, I've already explained a lot of things to you. So what you as a student have to do, I repeat, what you as a student have to do is that you have to make sure that you have got good knowledge over the accounting standards, plus you got to make sure that you focus upon your drafting skills, because another reason for the failure in addition to accounting standards is inability to draft the answer. That is one of the reasons. So you got to actually draft the answers also as a student. So how would we be teaching? We will be teaching on the concept of blended learning. What is this blended learning all about? The concept of blended learning is that it's going to be a mixture of online live and it's going to be a mixture of online recorded. Upon enrolling with us, you get access to the recorded lectures, and each week we have got live classes, plus what happens is that you keep on submitting the different assignments and we'll keep on responding back to you with our feedbacks on them. Lastly, in the last month before the exam, we will have a 5-day revision session. That 5-day revision session, the objective of conducting that 5-day revision session is to make sure that we are able to revise the entire course and have a good exam practice. Plus, there is going to be ample amount of CBE practice that I would be doing. Obviously, in the initial phase, I would not be going on to the CBEs because in the initial phase, you need to understand how the questions are to be drafted, right? Rather than just going on to the CBE practice platform. So that is what we'll do. And lastly, a very important thing, which is around 10 days before the exam, we'll have the mock exam, plus we will have a mock review session. So that is how we will be going through this AAA paper. So we are done with the, discussion of this AAA, and I hope that you people would have actually got a bit of an understanding of what AAA is all about. So that's it from my side. I look forward to having you people in the future sessions also, and I hope that this course you would enjoy reading through this course, and hopefully inshallah you'll be able to pass AAA in the first attempt. Thank you and take care.